Welcome. You're listening to the I'm Wired to Inspire podcast, creatively engineered by Nicole, the inspiration specialist. I'm Wired to Inspire is a powerfully packed podcast filled with inspiration and encouragement to get you through your day. It's designed to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. Now, stay tuned for your host, Nicole, the inspiration specialist, on today's episode of I'm Wired to Inspire.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast. I'm Nicole, the inspiration specialist, and I'm wired to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. Y'all, today I have a question for you. That's what this whole episode is about. It's about this one question I want you to ponder. I was watching my boy, God bless the dead, but I love this man so much. I love Miles Monroe. He was a giant, a beautiful man of God, so full of wisdom. I mean, he is just like, Man, I'm telling you, sometimes every couple years, y'all, I feel like for the last maybe 15 years, every couple years, I like binge his stuff. I just like watch like tons and tons and tons of his stuff. And I just kind of get reminded again of like, you know, you got to put your big girl panties on with him. You got to put your big boy drawers on. You know what I'm saying? Like he just don't pull no punches, and you can't mess around with him. I just kind of find when I listen to Miles Monroe stuff, if you're not ready to really rise up and be a grown man or be a grown woman, his stuff gonna sound good, but it's not gonna take. It's not gonna be stuff you put into work. It's not gonna convert into action until you really, really want to live that life God calls you to live. It's not for punks. That's one thing I love about his ministry. And you know, everybody wasn't a fan because he believed in wealth. He believed in legacy and all of these things that a lot of people shun, and they don't want to be bothered with it. But for me, I always felt that he was on the up and up in the sense that he was always very consistent, and he always got to the depth and core of what issues were that people, were faced, especially in Christianity. Those of us who just super Jesus-y, super love the Lord, but I mean, just not doing the practical things we need to do to have a balanced, healthy, happy life, a holy, whole life. Like so many Christians are lacking that. And I felt that he wasn't afraid to attack those things. So that was also a very attractive thing, to me with him. But if I thought he was the bomb and nothing, could top that, he went and outdid himself again, because one of my friends sent me a video and was like, yo, check this out. Whatever you doing, listen to it right now. It's off the chain. So I started listening to it. And of course, I'm 10 minutes in. I'm like, Lord, I feel like I took 10 pages of notes already. And this thing is an hour and a half long, right? So he asked this question, and it's a question that I want to ask you. If someone had to think of something that reminded them of you, what would it be? If someone had to think of something that reminded them of you, what would it be? Now, let me go another further with that, and I'm explaining. Would they refer to something of value? Would they think of something that was beyond just a gift or a talent, but would there be something, a core thing that they could say about you that would say, hey, this is a person of value? This person adds value to humankind. They do this, they do that. What is the thing that they would identify with you? Work on that. That's something, anybody listening, work on that. I'm working on it. I work on it every day. And let me tell you why it's important to work on that. We did not get put on this earth. And this is my belief. But I don't believe we came on this earth for no reason. I don't believe that we're supposed to be loaded with all of these gifts and talents and callings and this incredible anointing, which we all have in some way, shape, or form, whether we are aware of it or not. Everything is not super spiritual and like, ooh, she's a preacher, he's a preacher, it's not always that deep. But there are things that each of us have on the inside that when we cultivate those things, and if we don't know, when we seek God to find out what those things are, you begin to see the pieces begin to come together as to why God has you here. So that question is very important because you want people to identify you with value. Even if a person doesn't like you, even if they don't like you, because people don't have to like you. We talk about that on here all the time. You don't have to like me. I feel you. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I don't like everybody. God forgive me. I don't know if I'm just supposed to be like fake kumbaya Christian, but it's not that I dislike them, though. That's a totally different thing to just go around not liking people. But sometimes you just don't like the way people act and their personality is the same. People feel that way about me. I mean, that's their prerogative, right? So even if they don't like me, though, or whatever, you still want a person to respect you, right? But two, even if a person doesn't like you and they can still speak highly of you, they're like, yo, that's not my cup of tea. But they awesome when they do that. I love that they do that with people. I love that they do X, Y, and Z. I love that ministry, or I love that they do that with their business, or I love that they're, I hear that they're really great on their job. Or I hear that every time they go to such and such, they always do something for the homeless. Or, what is it that people would identify you with, even if they didn't like you? Like what would be the thing? So think about that, y'all. Like, give that some time, like really, really mull over that and see what you come up with. Because here's the thing. We cannot control what people say or think about us, right? But we could definitely control what we put out into the world. So if you let anything outside of you control what comes from you, that's a red flag. And sometimes that's the red flag that lets you know that perhaps what people may associate you with, it may not be nothing good. It may not be very positive. And I'm not talking about instances where, they just don't like you. I got a bad vibe. The kind of foolishness we deal with every 5 minutes in 2019. I just never seen so much of that before in my life. But that's a whole nother podcast. I just mean like a core thing. Like at the end of the day, I'm not talking about petty foolishness. I mean, if people really got to the bottom of who you were, would they have something positive to say? Yo, you don't have to be a person in the public eye. You don't have to be a person that wrote 1 million books. No, you don't have to have accolades. Some people feel like they don't have any value because they don't have no followers on social media. Let me tell y'all something. If they shut down social media, some people will have nothing. They will have zero. And I am so thankful and grateful to God that if any of that ever happened, I'm still going to be Gucci. And I'm going off on a tangent, but I pray that you do that too. If you got a whole bunch of followers or if you got all your businesses tied up, that's not wise. Make sure you have other things going on outside of that. Y'all, when Facebook and Instagram went off the other day, people was almost jumping off a bridge. You know what I'm saying? And it's just too much weight that we allow other people to put on us for little menial, trivial things like that. When in actuality, people made money and got their hustle on the old fashioned way, and that's, I don't post what I do. People just figure, I just be saying, people don't even know what I do because that's not necessarily everybody's business. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, when I think about what I want to put out in the world, I want it to be something great. I want it to be something positive. You don't have to know nothing about my personal life. I don't have to know nothing about yours. But my goodness, if people come across you, will they at least say, you know what? I don't really know her that well, but she seemed cool. He a nice dude. He nice. He always do such and such for the lady at the school, whatever. But what is it people would identify you with? Would they identify you with mess? Would they talk about the shade room when they talk about you? Would they talk about beautiful, awesome things? Like what end of the spectrum you're going to land on? And if you're not comfortable with where that's at, you got to revisit that because that's very, very important. You do not want to be in a situation where you're not adding value to people. I'm not talking about people liking you. That's not what I'm saying. You're not trying to ask this question to see how many people like you and what to do to make people like you. I'm asking you to think about that because if you know people cannot connect you to value, then you need to rethink what you're putting out in the world. And if that's nothing, then that means you need to think about something you need to be putting out in the world so that you can make others better. You can make God proud and you can overall put your footprint on this world. So when you know you leave here, you mattered. And y'all, when you do that, people behind you, you will help other people while they're here. That one little tiny small thing you do, you might not ever have your name in lights, but you'll be in God's lights. And that's the only one you need to be concerned about. So if you can't answer that question, pray about it and ask God, Lord, what do you want people to associate me with? How close am I to it? Do I need to make a pivot and go the other way? Do I need to try something else? Are they going to identify me with smut and foolishness and talking crazy? Are they going to identify me with positivity and putting things out that is really beautiful and blessed? What are they going to do? What are they going to identify me with? That's the kind of things you want to talk to God about. But you ask that question, and I'll say it one more time before we ride out. If someone had to pick one thing that reminded them of you, what would it be? Think about it. I'm wired to inspire. I hope you are too.
Thanks for listening to I'm Wired to Inspire podcast at I'mWiredToInspire.com. If you enjoyed the show, spread the word and be sure to hit the 5-star rating on iTunes. For more information on this podcast and inspirational products and services, log on to I'mWiredToInspire.com. And remember to live your authentic purpose. Thanks again, and see you next time.